Ladies and gentlemen, fourth and trollers, welcome back to the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. That's right, we are back with another episode of Fourth and Troll Fantasy. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And we have got a great show for you guys today. We are coming off of some upset specials in Week 10. It was some exciting games, potentially the game of the year that had a couple catch of the year candidates in it. Some more names emerging as potential MVP candidates as well. It's an exciting week in the NFL, but first things first, Wes, how are you doing after Week 10?
Dude, I am great. Just a couple of things here. One, first week of the season that I won in every league that I'm in. So I'm very happy about that. 4 for 4 on Week 10. Number two, this was an awesome week of football. This was a really, really good through and through, except for Thursday night, just all day Sunday. And last night's surprising game against the Commanders was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So with that being said, I got to get the one thing off my chest from football that sucked. I hate the Raiders. The Raiders are so bad at football. I'm so annoyed with how bad they are. I can't stand Josh McDaniel. I want him gone. I need him gone for the sake of the NFL. I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. We were both quite excited last night watching Monday Night Football. The 1972 Miami Dolphins got to pop the champagne.
Yeah.
They still 50 years later, the only team in NFL history to have a perfect season. Man, greatness on the horizon for that team. It only took 50 years to come back around for greatness, and hey, maybe we're there. Maybe 50 years later, we got the missing pieces. But I am doing real well. Another week, another Dolphins win. That's always exciting. Another loss for my fantasy team. Not as exciting.
No, not exciting.
I'm excited for is to be able to plug Jeff Wilson into my lineup every week now, though. We'll be able to talk about that a little bit later. My goodness, that dude is crazy.
What in the world?
Absolutely killing it in the new environment, but I am doing real well. We have got a great show for you guys today. We got some hyped up, let down. We're going to jump into a new segment called In or Out. It's going to be a little bit more specific. We'll get to that in a little bit here. And then we're going to obviously do waiver wire. And then, of course, Thursday Night Football preview. But first things first, Wes, hit us with the news as we go towards Week 11.
Yeah, so there was a surprising update on Monday. For some reason, the Arizona Cardinals released Eno Benjamin, who filled in for James Conner for multiple weeks. As of now, it remains to be seen if he's going to be picked up anywhere else, but James Conner will be clearly the uncontested running back in Arizona. Noah, did you see any reason, any statement as to why they just dropped him? I didn't catch anything.
Not at all. I thought he did extremely well. He is a local kid. He played college football at Arizona State. I have no idea why he dropped him. He'll hit the waivers, and I'm sure he will be claimed by somebody because he can step in and play a really solid role for somebody who needs a running back, who needs some depth at running back. Maybe not necessarily a starter, but he showed what he can do in a starting position. So, I mean, yeah, I have no clue. I was so shocked to get that notification on my phone. He was on my fantasy team up until last week. Like he was I think I started him last week on my fantasy team because I was like, you know what? We don't know what James Conner's workload is going to look like. Eno might still have a role here because he did really well. I'm shocked. I'm shocked about it. And it's a very surprising release.
Anyway, well, in that same division, likely some very, very sad news is that Cooper Kupp suffered what is now called a high ankle sprain. Generally, from our understanding, is that this is usually a multi-week absence. We know this can extend into 6 weeks, upwards of that even. So generally, people should prepare to miss many, many weeks without one of the best playmakers in the NFL. So just be prepared, possibly the rest of the season. Who knows? Nothing stated as of the recording this episode. Moving on to the NFC South in Tampa Bay, Leonard Fournette, as we saw, if you woke up early to watch that first NFL game in Germany, Leonard Fournette suffered a hip injury against the Seahawks, but even though he exited the game because they have a bye week going into this week, Leonard Fournette has a good chance to actually suit up in their next game against Cleveland in 2 weeks. Todd Bowles also stated Monday that it's too early to tell if Fournette should miss any time. It's just not for certain, but it shouldn't be multiple weeks as of what we're hearing right now. Jerry Jeudy in Denver had a pretty rough injury, but right now, thankfully, it's just a minor ankle injury and is just considered day-to-day. Some believing it could have been a high ankle sprain. It's good to know that Jeudy could be in line to play again this week, perhaps just missing one game. We saw a really, really bad hit against Juju Smith-Schuster for the Chiefs. He's in concussion protocol. Right now, there's no further updates on his status for next week. Just something to monitor if you've been playing him. He's been playing excellent for the Chiefs. Cole Kmet, some of you saw he got banged up during the game for the Bears. Bears tight end Cole Kmet got banged up, limped off the field, but everything was fine. He was just in a lot of pain, pushed through it. He's going to be fine, good to go in case any of you were looking to add him to your waiver wires. Another tight end who will not be playing this year, though, is Zach Ertz, who suffered a season-ending knee injury on Sunday. Right now, we looked into it. The remaining tight ends for Arizona are Trey McBride and Steven Anderson, who have a combined 6 targets on the season. That's if you're interested in picking up a tight end for the Cardinals. Just keep in mind. Okay. On that note, speaking of which, Marquise Brown is on pace to return after their Week 14 bye at the latest. It's unlikely he plays next week, but his progression could have him return the week after that. So he could be playing shortly. In Carolina, PJ Walker, I don't know how this happened, suddenly has a high ankle sprain. And the Panthers will now turn to Baker Mayfield to be the starter indefinitely. Okay. Nothing happened after they won. I don't know where this ankle sprain came from, but Baker Mayfield's a starter. In Baltimore, Mark Andrews and Gus Edwards, who had some injuries in their last game 2 weeks ago, are likely going to return to practice this week, which makes them both also likely to play this Sunday against the Panthers. Keep that in mind. Gus Edwards could be the RB1 again. And of course, Mark Andrews is a superstar. One of the last things before we just kind of recap the bye weeks going into the week, Brandon Staley said, head coach for the Chargers, Brandon Staley said both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams will be back to practice this week. No update on if they're going to play, but it is definitely a great sign. Okay. Last thing, just a reminder for your bye weeks, Jacksonville Jaguars, Miami Dolphins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Seattle Seahawks, all on a bye week. Be prepared to slot in someone for those big boys for your fantasy teams. That's it. That's all we got for the news heading into week 11 now. Let's go talk about who got us hyped up from week 10. I am hyped up from a lot of these guys. No, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I mean, do we need to even talk again about Justin Fields? I mean, I feel like he's been a recurring name. He has been, me too. He's been a recurring name on this podcast for the last 5, 6, 7 episodes ever since we first mentioned him as a, hey, this guy is looking good. You need to go grab him. He still looks good. And my goodness, he's following the pattern here. It's just been, we said, plays the Dolphins, and then he gets the Lions, and how about just back-to-back, 40-point games, 39.38 fantasy points for Justin Fields on Sunday against the Lions. And again, the dude is scoring on the ground, in the air. I'm worried they're going to try and limit his rushing upside because they say, hey, you're really good at this. We don't want you to get hurt. Run less. No, Matt Eberflus, stop it. He is carrying that team, even though they lost. Man, he looks awesome. First player in NFL history, excuse me, with 100 rushing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single game. First player in NFL history to hit that mark there. He has us hyped up for sure. Back-to-back QB1 weeks for Justin Fields. He's unbelievable. Let's talk about another guy, though, Wes. Justin Jefferson had, and I'll say this.
Oh, gosh.
What I think is the best catch I've ever seen.
Yeah.
in that game against the Bills. Listen,
am.
George Pickens, acrobatics out the butt, crazy reaction skills to catch that ball. He was, parallel to the ground, essentially catching that ball. Odell Beckham, obviously incredible skills there for the three-fingered snag there for the Giants back in the day. Julian Edelman in the Super Bowl with the bobble catch. It was truly what I think is probably one of top 3 catch of all time, I think. But my goodness, Justin Jefferson, the skill, strength, poise that you have to make that catch
on fourth and
18. Yeah, on 4th and 18.
This guy,
defensive back has 2 hands on the ball, and Justin Jefferson has 1 hand and says, "Yeah, I got this. I'll take that one. Thanks.
I love.
Don't worry." Incredible. Just incredible. Awesome to see him doing that. And 16 targets is also just, I know they played it into overtime, but so you got a little bit of an extra quarter there, but he is,
he only had like 20 more yards in overtime. This was a true dominant game. It wasn't, There wasn't a lot for him there. So 193 yards. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's great to get one of these again, because we thought this might be the regular occurrence, and we've by far have not been disappointed by anything Justin Jefferson has done this season. But I don't know that there's been the big boom like this since week 1, when we were all like, oh, he's gonna kill everybody this season.
Right.
And it was just great. It was just great to see this again. Justin Jefferson owners, you're thrilled with that and what's going on there. Patrick Mahomes.
Real quick, just one of the greatest fourth quarters I've ever seen in football. Just that Vikings-Bills game was outstanding. Roller coaster.
Probably game of the year. Patrick Mahomes, 31.14 fantasy points. He just keeps doing it. It's unbelievable. It doesn't matter who the weapons are. He gets it done. Kadarius Toney, good to see him find the end zone. Patrick Mahomes, 4 passing touchdowns, 4 different receivers or pass catchers on those touchdowns. He's killing it. He's doing a great job, and he didn't have to throw 70 passes this game, so that was nice for him too. Good for Patrick Mahomes. Christian Kirk, we called him for real last week, Wes. Seems like it. Seems like it. 31.5 fantasy points. 12 targets. It's the big one we want to look at there. The opponent helped. It was the Chiefs. They had to throw a lot to stay in this game. Anyone who streamed Trevor Lawrence like I did, I'm sure we were happy with the 20 points he got us. But Christian Kirk on the receiving end of a lot of that 20-point performance for Trevor Lawrence, 31.5 fantasy points for Christian Kirk. They said 12 targets, 9 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great to see him, back-to-back weeks now, returning to kind of that first 3 weeks form that we saw that we were all really excited about. And very, very maybe backing up his name for some of the trash we were throwing at him for being such a high paid receiver. He's doing great. Really good to see him flourish there. Excited to see maybe what this offense can look like with Calvin Ridley and him next year. If Calvin Ridley hasn't really lost a step, it could be a dangerous duo there. But let's talk about another guy in Dallas. CeeDee Lamb. My goodness.
It's about time.
We've been waiting on it, and he got it. 15 targets in this game. Incredible to see those numbers up there. 11 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I was on the receiving end of, in a couple leagues, of the spanking that CeeDee Lamb put down on his opponents
you went
this
against
week.
him?
I did, and I was not
that
thrilled.
Is rough.
Yeah, I was not happy about it. Yeah, not very happy about it. Yeah, it was rough time. But CeeDee Lamb, 38 fantasy points. All of these guys so far, and the next couple we'll talk about, just, someone says, what does Fourth and Troll Fantasy's hyped up segment look like? Boom, right here. This is what it is. It's about these guys who we all had high hopes for coming in and just absolutely ripping people apart. Another guy that a lot of people had high hopes for, but we hadn't seen yet here, was Christian Watson. I know Aaron Rodgers had high hopes for him. My goodness, Christian Watson, 32.7 fantasy points. Talk about a little bit of a coming out game in the NFL. 8 targets, 4 catches for 107 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wild.
Wild
stats.
What are we doing here? This is crazy. We're going to talk about him a little later, just in a little bit, something to mention here. And then the last one that just got us hyped up is, I feel like this is a recurring theme now here before the Troll Fantasy, as we just got to talk about these kickers that get us hyped up, man. And Joey Sly on Monday Night Football absolutely got us hyped up. 19 fantasy points.
But go ahead, finish with the stats.
Yeah, four field goals and 2 PATs. He was the offense, essentially. Like, it was like, dude was killing it. He was, 12 points.
But they were really good field goals that helped the Commanders maintain the lead once they got it. Like, this wasn't just like Nick Folk, who's just because they can't finish the drive. Like, no, these were 50-plus field goals that he was drilling. Like, this one was deserved. I got hyped up, honestly. I was like, look at this guy go. Joey Sly. Definitely. I love it, man.
All of them got us hyped up. As always on a Tuesday, let's get sad, though, because Derrick Henry let us down. Derrick Henry let us down big time. Got back to one of those early season games that we, were a little disappointed in. 8.7 fantasy points. Again, not something you're going to go ahead and bench anybody over, but, and I don't think it's a sign of things to come. But
I will say that I'm impressed the Broncos did as well as they did without Bradley Chubb. I'm all right. So they do have a good defense outside of him. That's something that I took away seeing Derrick Henry's stats.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could be that. I also think it just could be a little bit of rust from this Titans. The Titans won, but a little bit of rust from the Titans offense as well, just without having Ryan Tannehill for their past 2 games and him being limited in some practices. Not sure, I'm sure they're thrilled with a win, but I'm not sure if Vrabel was necessarily excited about the performance of that game. Definitely going to have to see what happens next week. Because, listen, say what y'all want about Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is a good professional NFL quarterback, as some people might say. He can do his job, and that's good. So, Derrick Henry, just a little bit of a letdown. Another guy who would let us down is George Kittle, 3.1 fantasy points. We thought he might be back to form here. We're watching closely to see what this offense in San Francisco is going to look like with all these weapons back. What's this going to be like? What's going on? Is there too many mouths to feed? What's happening here? I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo fed any mouths, to be completely honest. That's so weird. This whole 49ers offense. There
was a hilarious graphic they put up after the 49ers won, which is Jimmy Garoppolo is 10-2 when he doesn't throw a touchdown.
Yeah. When Jimmy Garoppolo gets carried, he's 10-2.
Right.
Well, okay. Nice.
It's like a good formula.
Yeah. So a bit of a letdown from George Kittle there. We're going to have to see what happens with the Niners offense. Another person in that game, a little bit of a letdown just because it's been so incredible, these 34-plus point games. But Austin Eckler, a little bit of a letdown week, 13.3 fantasy points. Listen, again, nothing to be worried about. Don't freak out. You're fine. I think you're kidding yourself if, we don't recognize that the 49ers defense is really good against running backs. They hold running backs in check fairly well. We saw a little more of Isaiah Spiller in that game than I thought we were going to see than we have all season, really, but nothing I'm too concerned about. Austin Eckler will return to form. Again, this is a letdown segment. Just let down, guys. Let down. Exactly. We'd feel silly if we didn't talk about this with you. So there you go. A Monday night guy that let us down, A.J. Brown. I don't know if it was because it was Devonta Smith's birthday or not, but he stepped aside a little bit and said, you know what? He can score a touchdown. Yeah, we'll give it to him. He can have that one.
Yeah,
but AJ Brown
can win too for Devonta's birthday.
Yeah, for Devonta Smith's birthday. Here, lose.
We'll lose just for you.
AJ Brown 1.7 fantasy points. This is not the norm. You'll be okay. We'll be fine. Keep plugging him in. If anything, this is going to motivate him to just have another 3 touchdown first half next week.
Yeah, get called for taunting again, AJ.
Yeah, because my goodness, this is just going to be, I think this next Eagles game, I don't know fully I don't have their opponent off the top of my head.
Are you typing it My guess is Giants.
I am. They play the Colts next week. Newly head coached Jeff Saturday.
Right. It should be good. Should be.
Yeah, should be. So this whole Eagles revenge game is, coming off of their first loss this season. I will not be surprised if they score 184 points because I think, this is just going to be, everyone's going to be pissed off and they're going to be embarrassed and they're going to come out and go crazy. So AJ Brown let down for sure. And sadly, you mentioned him in the news segment, Wes. Somebody we're let down by and hurting for probably here. Cooper Kupp, before he even, he did get hurt, but before he even got hurt, it was just a rough week. They didn't have Matthew Stafford. The connection may not have been there with John Wolford, but 5 targets, 3 catches, -1 yards, just 2.9 fantasy points. But obviously,
really bad.
Really bad week. You're probably pretty let down there if you lost based off Cooper Kupp, but we are going to need to monitor that. We're hoping for the best there because, as we say often, football is more fun with Cooper Kupp in it. So definitely
that
just
is
something to look at there.
Something that you have said multiple times. That is not you just making that up now. I've heard you say that many, many times.
Oh no,
it'll be sad if we finish the season without Cooper Kupp. It'll be a little less fun.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think, I do think it's just, it's more fun to watch him play football than it is not. So that's it for hyped up and let down. We got a lot of people to figure out if it's fluke or for real, Wes.
Oh,
so let's jump into this because just all these names, man. Aaron Jones, 23.6 fantasy points, fluke or for real?
It's hard to say it's not for real because it's Aaron Jones, but he's had a bad season. But with 24 carries, 138 yards, I like it. I'll buy into it. I think you have to start him regardless, but I'll buy into it for real.
Yeah. Boom, for real. Done and dusted. Jonathan Taylor, 24.3 fantasy points, fluke or for real?
Am I crazy to not be convinced by this?
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
Neither
am I.
Okay.
Everyone's like, he's back. Guys, it was the Raiders. It was the Raiders.
So bad. Yes.
Who everyone goes off against. And people were like, Jonathan Taylor's back. He's healthy. No, Naeem Hines. He's back, baby. They played the Raiders. Jeff Saturday did not have an offensive scheme lined up for them to be able to go ahead and go, oh, we got the plan here. We got the one. Jeff Saturday went, hey, that guy's pretty good, huh? Let's give him the ball. What do you think? Pretty good idea? All right, book it. Let's go. No, I'm with you, Wes.
Okay, great. I'm not convinced because it's the Raiders. They're so bad at football. And do it again against the Eagles. Do this against the Eagles, and then I'll believe.
Coming up, he's got the Eagles, he's got the Eagles, he's got the Cowboys, and he's got the Steelers with TJ Watt back. He's got those 3 coming up and a bye week that he hasn't taken yet. So if you're hoping for that playoff push from Jonathan Taylor, I don't think you're going to get it. I'm with you. This is fluke. This is fluky.
Dude, we're awesome.
We're awesome. Hashtag never been wrong.
Never been wrong.
Never been wrong, baby. All right. James Conner, 23.6 fantasy points. Fluke or for real, Wes?
After Sunday, I was interested. I was like, that's pretty good. 69 yards isn't a lot. And then after Monday, they released Benjamin. It's like, all right, I guess so. I guess I'm starting James Conner for here on out. So, for real, mostly because of Benjamin's release. Yeah,
I'm with you. This is probably for real, especially, Kyler's health uncertain. Maybe they do lean on this run a little bit more, and he seems to be the guy that they're going to lean on. So definitely feeling like James Conner could have some more good games in his future. Jeff Wilson Jr., oh man, this guy, 22.3 fantasy points, fluke or for real?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Unstoppable. I mean, he's going to be in our in and out segment coming up. We'll get into more details, but yes. Wow. Dolphins offense. Come on.
I love it.
They're so good. All right.
For real. Another guy, Cole Kmet here, Wes, 23.4 fantasy points. Man, I'm so happy to see this guy doing good. For real.
The week after we did our midway recap and figured out the rankings, and you're like, oh, Cole Kmet, I thought he might be there. He's like scored a touchdown every game since.
Yeah, now happened. he's like, oh, that guy wanted me in the top 10. Well, I'm
someone believes in me.
I'll make my way there, I guess.
I'll get 2 touchdowns every game.
Yeah, here we go.
It's like back-to-back weeks, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, I'm in this. Cole Kmet for the win.
Yeah, Cole Kmet is for real, and it took a little while to get there, but he's for real, and I like it a lot. Excited about it. Rashad White, rookie running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 10.5 fantasy points. But we'll talk about him in a little bit. But let's just talk about this real quick, Wes. Fluke or for real?
For real, and that's all we'll say because we got some good notes coming up. But for real.
We do. Nick Westbrook-Akine, wide receiver for the Titans, 28.9 fantasy points. Fluke or for real? What?
Fluke.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Like, what are we doing here? It just feels like Tannehill found somebody twice, and that was how that went.
5 catches, 119 yards. You mean to tell me he has like over 20 yards a catch?
Yeah.
No.
Nope. No. I don't buy it. I agree with you. Fluke. Kadarius Toney, though, 19 fantasy points. What do we think, Fluke, for real?
All right. So 5 targets, pretty good. I know Juju got hurt, at some point, so that's part of it. 57 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good. I really like the 2 rushes and 33 yards. So for me, that is more of an incentive to say for real, because with how unbelievably creative Andy Reid is with his offense and how unbelievably talented Kadarius Toney is, this could really be a game-changing waiver ad for a lot of people that picked him up when he was traded. For real. I'm very, very interested to see what happens.
I'm going to take a page out of your book, Wes. Is that cool?
Yeah, go for it.
Show it to me twice. Show it to me twice. Show it to me twice. I'm bought in, but show it to me twice, and then I'm sold.
Yeah,
I'm listening. I'm looking. Yeah, but I want to see if he can do this again with Juju playing a full game and with Mecole Hardman playing. That's what I want to see. I want to see if I see the 2 rushes and I go 2 rushes for 33. I go, it sounds like a Mecole Hardman stat, does it not? I don't know. I'm bought in. Close me, Kadarius Toney. Close me, Andy Reid. Yeah. Close me on the sale. Show it to me twice, and I'm bought in. I like it. My guy. Hope you bought in. Hope you bought low. Chris Godwin, 19.1 fantasy points. What do we say? Wes? We said this offense is going to get a little better. This offense feels a little better. It's going to get a little better. And I think Chris Godwin finds the end zone at a little more than he has over the first half of the season, which, boom, check the boxes. Run the tape. Run the film. Like Chris Godwin, 19.1 fantasy points. Fluke for real.
You say it. I already know, man.
It's for real. It's for real. Listen, we called it. We called it out. We pointed it out. Chris Godwin, it's for real. It is for real. And Mike Evans had a little bit of a down week. Wes, you were right too. I hope you guys sold Mike Evans and you bought Chris Godwin, because maybe a shifting of the tides here as far as who is going to get what here in this offense.
Pretty good. Buy low, sell high, and studs and duds last episode. Yeah, they're pretty good job.
Yeah, Joe Mixon got 0 points this week, guys. Come on, I hope you sold them.
Yeah, idiots.
Gosh, you guys are morons if you didn't. Come on now. All right, another wide receiver there for the Bucs, Julio Jones, 14.3 fantasy points. What do we think on this one, though?
So, like Kadarius Toney, I'm bought in, but I'm still not starting. Julio Jones, I'm not bought in, but I'll keep an eye on him. I say fluke, but let's keep a tab just in case he starts getting some good PPR. But even still, I don't know. I don't want to say gut, but I just don't feel good about starting Julio Jones heading into the playoffs. If I need like 2 or 3 more wins the last few weeks to get in the playoffs, I'm not starting Julio Jones for that push.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a little fluky, and we're gonna, he may have these little miniature spike weeks, but because that's because Tom Brady can throw a touchdown to anybody. Really, if he doesn't have this touchdown, it's like a 7-point week or something like that. Around there. But good to see Julio. Good to see Julio doing what he previously has done, which is be productive on the football field. His touchdown, I will point out, and I'll just say a little something here real quick. His touchdown, when you watch that touchdown, I think I shed a single tear because he had that catch in open space and turned on the jets to go score the touchdown. And man, when he was running, the strides he was taking, I swear to you, I was watching 2016 Julio Jones. The way he was running the football, like the strides he was taking, it was just like, man, remember when he would do that like down the sideline for 80 yards? Like, oh, yeah. Gosh, it was just like, man, I feel like I was blast from the past. It was great to see him score and get in the end zone and show his athleticism still. One of the best to ever play. One of the best to ever play the position.
That's true.
Definitely exciting to see that. Just behind him, though, and best to ever play the position, Paris Campbell, Wes. Paris Campbell, 20.6 fantasy points. Fluke or for real?
I have no fluke. I'm not going to try to elaborate. It's it's nice to see Matt Ryan, help out with some of the passing game statistics, but this is by far, his best game. So
100%. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun King in Detroit, 22.1 fantasy points. Fluke or for real?
I'm bought in until
I hope so.
I'm too much of a sucker for what he did the first 3 weeks to think this is a fluke. It's like, no, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
This is your standard. So I'm for real. Just keep starting him for better and worse.
I hope so. Yeah, I really hope so. And I hope it's not a product of the defense he was playing against. I don't think it is. 11 targets. You love to see it. I'm really monitoring and hoping we see the rookie wide receiver Jameson Williams back, because you get those two explosive players on the field, they each have the higher upside to explode. So hopefully Amon-Ra St. Brown gets another guy out there. They sent TJ Hawkinson. So it's like, well, who are we throwing to? Amon-Ra's right there.
Yeah, 11 targets. Pretty good.
Yep, definitely. Darius Slayton, a Giants wide receiver in our good section of Fluke or for real. This might be an anomaly. What's going on here with Darius Slayton? Fluke or for real?
I'll tell you what's going on. He had a really long catch and run for a touchdown. That's why he ended up in double digits. So forget it. But Fluke, moving on.
Fluke, yep. A Miami Dolphin here in the Fluke for real segment's always fun. Trent Sherfield had a that whole play, the throw, the catch, everything was so great in the left corner of the end zone there on the ball from Tua against the Browns on Sunday. 16.3 fantasy points. Fluke or for real, Wes?
He's a fantastic third, you could argue fourth read behind Mike Gesicki. You could argue, seventh read behind Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson.
Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Alec Ingold. And
I know he's good. Believe it, from two Dolphins fans, that Trent Sherfield's really good, but obviously don't pick him up.
Yeah. He was the highest scoring Dolphins receiver. And it's like, oh,
hilarious. He did better than
Tyreek. Tyreek and Waddle owners this week are like, bummer, but still great win, but bummer, bummer the Dolphins. Good to see him score a touchdown. I really, as a Dolphins fan, really like Trent Sherfield, but is a bit fluky here in our Fluke for real segment. Dalton Schultz, 17.4 fantasy points. West Fluke for real.
Finally, for real. I'm same
please
as
stay here.
Just this is what I expect.
Touchdowns, throw the ball. Like, please keep throwing the ball.
8 targets is really, really good for a tight end.
Yeah.
I really like that a lot. And in addition to everything CeeDee Lamb did as well. So that is also more encouragement for me for Schultz going forward.
100%. Yeah. Hopefully, maybe things lighten up a little bit in the coverage area for Schultz as well there based off the CD game, but definitely exciting as a Schultz owner to get that kind of game. Last one here, Tyler Higbee. Bit of an up week here. What do we think? Fluke or for real?
Fluke. Because of John Wolford.
That's what I'm thinking too. I think he had a safety net and I think he took advantage of it. 8 targets, 8 catches for 73 yards, less than 10 yards of reception. Wasn't like it was making much of it. It seemed like a lot of it was coming within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage that he was making those passes. Bit of a safety net there. I think it's a fluke.
I will say that this will be interesting when Stafford is back with who he prefers with Cooper Kupp gone. Is it going to be Allen Robinson? Like, I feel like it will be, or is Tyler Higbee going to be the number one, or are we just going to see an uptick in Ben Skoranek? Like, I think he's going to have to figure out who his next number one option is, and I don't know if it's Higbee. Unfortunately, I don't think so, but that's just something we have to wait for next week.
Yeah, gonna have to see what happens there. That's gonna do it for our positive segment of Fluker for Real. Just a few guys that we can talk about here to see what's going on, though, Wes. In the negative side of it, Alvin Kamara, another down week, 7.5 fantasy points. Fluker for real.
I'm going to categorize this as for real in the sense that this is how Kamara will be for this season. I think we're going to see more boom or bust from Kamara, which is not how he's normally been. So I think this is for real, but he will also have 25, 30 plus point games. Do you agree? Does that make sense?
I think I'm with you on that. I'm a little worried by the rumblings I'm hearing of, should Jameis Winston be back under center? Because I don't think Alvin Kamara benefits from that. But
right.
Yeah, I think he's very boomer bust. And so we're gonna have to just start him and deal with it no matter what happens. Another guy here let us down a little bit. Something we got to figure out what's going on here. Chase Claypool, 1.8 fantasy points. Fluker for real.
Why even trade for him if you're going to target him twice?
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
No sense to me. Like, why he's immediately entered as the number 2 option. If number 1, depending on your viewpoint of how good Darnell Mooney is, like, why would you trade for him and you only get 2 targets and then you go ahead and target Cole Kmet 7 times and he gets 2 touchdowns? For real, I don't understand it, but for real, I think Chase Claypool is no longer a fantasy option.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's simple as that. I agree with you. This is for real. Bit disappointing, but it seems seems like it's going to end up being Cole Kmet, and that's going to be who Fields is going to throw to there. So let's say it together, Wes. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. For real.
For real.
Drop him. Completely drop him. I don't care. Like, drop him. He played 4 snaps on Sunday. He played 4 snaps. That's it.
Garbage.
He has no position here. Pacheco keeps on getting the running game, and Jerick McKinnon still ends up being the one who is the most fantasy friendly of the 3 of those running backs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire can be dropped. I'm serious. You can lose the roster spot. Like, you can free it up. He deserves no spot on your team. And if you feel like he does and he still needs to be there for you, I'm sorry. Like, your team's probably in a rough spot if you don't have a better option than Clyde here to hope that he falls into the end zone or something. So, yep, for real, drop him. Don't care. Last one here, Deebo Samuel, just 7.1 fantasy points. We talked a little bit about the 49ers offense. What do we think here, Wes? Fluker for real?
I kind of like the analogy you were giving about maybe there's just too many cooks in the kitchen, and it's possible that they may just not all get double-digit points. Maybe they kind of all even each other out, and it's going to start to look more of like these, 12, 14-point games for all of them, because how do you stop them all? And one person can't break out. Glad to see McCaffrey is, still, he got like 17 points, almost 18, but Deebo's coming off an injury and off a bye week. I'm not ready to call this for real just yet. I need one more week in full with this Pro Bowl roster to be ready to think that Deebo is out in the fantasy world. What do you say?
I mean, yeah, it's just crazy to think about. And we'll just elaborate on this real quick here. It's just, like you just said, this Pro Bowl roster. And yet, how did they not win Sunday Night Football by like 80 points? Like, how did they not just blow out the Chargers there? I don't understand really what's going on here. We look at how, it's funny. I just had the analogy for it. There it is. Okay, ready. So Patrick Mahomes comes into the season saying, he lost Tyreek Hill, a really big playmaker. So now the whole offense as a whole, as far as playmakers goes, kind of drops a level. It's not as explosive. It's not as high powered. It's not, all that sort of stuff. He says it's going to be a different player every week. We're going to have to guess. And now the 49ers, their whole offense is up a level, like up a tier, and it still feels like we're just gonna have to guess every week. Like it's gonna be someone different every week. And so it's really disappointing to see such a high-powered offense doing this sort of, what's going on here. And, maybe this leads us into our in or out segment, because this backfield is really confusing.
It is strange how involved Elijah Mitchell became.
He was so involved.
I'm a big Elijah Mitchell fan. He was my my best value pick going into the season, but it is, I mean, Debo still got some carries, but it's just, I was talking to some 49ers friends because, I live in California. So obviously there's some San Francisco supporters. And I was talking to them, I was like, you won, but defensively, you beat them defensively. You didn't do anything on offense. Like, I don't understand. And they're confused too. They're just like, I don't know. I mean, we still won, but it was like, yeah, but do you feel good? Because your offense should be steamrolling everybody. I don't know. I don't understand. I need another week before I'm ready to call this for real. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tease it a little bit and we'll get more into it. It's just, I saw a lot of people saying this, hey, Shanahan, if you were going to have a committee backfield, why did you go up all those draft picks for, Christian McCaffrey to be the lesser of have lesser snaps in that committee than Elijah Mitchell did? Yeah. Or lesser opportunities, maybe I'll say, or carries. It's just, I don't, it seems like, Jeff Wilson's still doing just fine. Seems like you could have just had him and Elijah Mitchell back. Right. Had a great 1-2 punch there. I don't think you need to give up the farm. It's just confusing, but yeah. It's 49ers offense is baffling to me, man. It doesn't make much sense, but that's going to do it for Fluker for Real. Wes, let's jump over to our little new segment here.
Yeah, and you were just teasing it. We're just going to talk about some of these running back backfields and what we got to make of the backup running back. So here's the thing. Before you know it, we're going to be in the fantasy playoffs, and we won't have a lot of waiver wire options, especially in the ground game. So we're going to jump into this segment called Backup Running Back, In or Out. A lot of backup running backs made big statements over this weekend. Noah and I are going to decide if we're in or out, starting with, let's just jump to it. Let's go with Elijah Mitchell. Are you in or out Elijah Mitchell? 9.8 points, 18 carries to McCaffrey's 14 carries.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in on Elijah Mitchell. I mean, I had stashed him on my team. Somebody who had him needed the spot on their bench to add somebody else. They had dropped him. I stashed him on my team, one, just on the off chance, McCaffrey has dealt with injuries. Maybe he gets hurt, and then we got a great running back and a great running system here. Now it just feels like a committee again. I'm in on Elijah Mitchell, 9.8 fantasy points, but 18 carries for Elijah Mitchell, 89 yards. He had nearly 5 yards a carry running the football on Sunday night. I'm in on Elijah Mitchell. I am in, and I am in a rough situation with a bye week next week. He might make his way into my starting lineup. Like, it truly may be. If someone's going to look at me and go, yeah, he's going to get 20 opportunities and Christian McCaffrey's still in the backfield, my goodness, like, great. Don't care. Like, sign me up for Elijah Mitchell.
I feel the same. I have to remind myself that Elijah Mitchell was named the starter for San Francisco before this season. So he's obviously talented enough to be a good back, but I mean, 18 carries, how do you shy away from that? And then just as you're saying, if McCaffrey gets hurt, you got a guy. So I'm definitely in on Mitchell. Yeah. We're going to jump over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Leonard Fournette gets injured, leaves the game with a hip injury. In comes your deep cut, by the way, Noah. You said a few weeks ago, keep your eye on this guy, Rachaad White. He had 10.5 points. Not a lot to look at, but still 105 yards off of 22 carries. And in the end, he was on the field for 65% of the snaps. In or out on Rachaad White?
Yeah, I'm in. He'll be in my, I'll talk about him in a little bit on my waiver wire segment, but I'm in on Rachaad White. Count me in. I'm in.
I'm in as well. I'm very, very interested how they're going to use him after what he did. Over 100 yards, not even as the starter. What are they going to do when Fournette comes back? I'm very, very interested, especially because he's very young compared to Fournette. Fascinating. We teased him a little bit earlier in this episode for Fluker for Real. We're going to talk about Miami Dolphins' newly acquired former San Francisco 49ers running back Jeff Wilson Jr. finished the game with 22.3 points, 17 carries, and 119 yards with a touchdown to boot. 61% of the snaps. He wasn't on the team just a couple weeks ago. Freaking all right, in or out on Jeff Wilson?
I'm in on Jeff Wilson. Excuse me. It's funny because we were wondering, after the first week, all right, how's this gonna play out? Are they is one of them gonna take over? No, they both got a role. Like they both have a role. Yeah. Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert both have a role. They're both doing well. And, the Miami Dolphins are 7-3 going into the bye week with extra time to prepare to figure out how to use this 1-2 punch. I love it. I'm in.
It's amazing. And it is also really great to know that Raheem Mostert isn't out. I don't know if he's the backup. I wouldn't say that, but it's just nice to know that it's not a complete handoff to Raheem Mostert owners.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to the Atlanta Falcons. We had a rough game with Cordero Patterson. Tyler Algier had more opportunities, more snap counts. I'm not sure if the snap counts were more, but he had 48% of the snap counts. He saw 8 carries, 20 yards. He had negative 17 yards in the receiving game, which is ridiculous. But what do you say, in or out on Tyler Algier?
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out on Tyler Algier. It does feel like still this is Cordell Patterson's backfield. Bit of a weird game on Thursday Night Football last week. And, Patterson didn't get the full workload I think we all expected. That being said, I'm still going to take him over Algier, and I still believe that Cordell Patterson is going to be the guy for this Falcons offense. Arthur Smith wants to win, and they can do that with Cordell Patterson running the football. So I like Cordell Patterson. I am out on Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I agree. It's nothing else to say to that. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about LA, no Cooper Kupp. Now we're going to discuss Kyren Williams. Am I saying his name right? Kyren
Williams. Yeah.
Kyren. Okay. Just making sure. Kyren Williams. Okay. Kind of showed up. I saw a few people decided to start him. 6.9 points in the end, only 1 carry for 9 yards, but he had 3 targets, 3 catches, and turned that into 30 yards in the air. 27% snap count, in or out on Kyren Williams.
So here's the thing. My heart is in. My heart is in. It's one of those ones where I say, I need to see it again. I need to see more usage. I need to see this offense in more of a natural way that they'll be playing with Stafford. I do say in though, because while he only had 1 carry, that was only 5 less carries than both Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson had. They each only had 6 carries. And Kyren Williams ended up with, 4 opportunities. Darrell Henderson ended up with 7, and Cam Akers ended up with, also 7. So, it feels like this backfield is wide open. It feels like anyone could go ahead and do something here. And I know that the Rams were really excited about Kyren Williams, the rookie out of Notre Dame, before the season. He hurt his ankle in week 1 and he wasn't able to play. And now he's back. Let's see what it looks like with Stafford under center. But I think this could be a sign of potentially shifting in the backfield. I'm in on Kyren Williams.
I am going to remain cautious and say out for myself just because I am out on the Rams offense in general. I think there is potential for this to kind of turn into something, but I've just been disappointed by the Rams for a lot of the season. So I'm if I have an extra slot, maybe I'll pick up Kyren Williams. But for me personally, right now, I'm still not in on Kyren Williams.
Yeah, I think Sean McVay is also out on the Rams this season, and so that's for me the thing that I'm like, well, your running game's been garbage the whole year so far. Maybe switch it up and see if it gets not garbage. It's again, this is probably my heart and more wishful thinking because I'm a Kyron Williams fan and I think he could be really good on the Rams, but not many signs showing that it's his time yet. So we just have to keep waiting and see. Could be maybe just an, late in the season he starts getting the work. Most of his production came on the Rams' last drive because they didn't have much going on. I believe almost all of his production came on the last drive because I was monitoring and then I was thrilled to see, oh, wow, he ended up with 6.9 points because I actually had him in a starting lineup this week because I was projected to lose by a bunch. And I was like, you know what? Let's take a long shot.
Screw it. Yeah.
6.9 points, whatever, So,
yeah, well,
it'll be interesting.
Well, we'll wait and see. Last one here for our in and out segment, in or out segment. A surprise with Jaylen Warren, who kind of snuck in to the Steelers' backfield, ended up with 43% of the snap count. 10.7 points on the day, 9 carries, 37 yards. Also saw 3 targets, 3 catches, 40 yards off of all of that. Are you in or out on Jaylen Warren?
I'm very intrigued by this. Same. I don't know if this is one of those ones where if I have a roster spot that I'm like, okay, I have Kenyon Drake rostered, or I could pick up Jaylen Warren. I'm probably gonna go pick up Jaylen Warren because it's interesting. 43% of snaps and 7 PPR fantasy points in the passing game. I think we got to see more here, but he is sneaking in and he's slowly getting used more and more. Najee has not been very good this week. He had nearly 100 yards, so that was good for Najee. But as far as fantasy goes, he has not been the guy. So I'm interested in Jaylen Warren for sure. I don't know if I'm in or out. Honestly, I'm gonna stand in the doorway. I'm gonna stand in the doorway and not choose if I'm gonna be in or out.
Yeah, it's not a very decisive answer, but I'm in the same boat. I just look at that like, okay, because Najee has been such a disappointment, I'll flag him on the waiver interest for myself. Like, okay, maybe he turns into something.
Yeah, potential there for sure. All right, Wes, let's do a couple last things to close out the show here. Let's give the people our waiver ads of the week. Who is your waiver ad for week 10, 11? How do we want to classify this? Week 11. Let's say week 11 waiver ad.
I am bought in on Cole Kmet.
Oh, yeah.
He's my waiver ad of the week. It's not Christian Watson. It's not Nick Westbrook-Ikine. It's Cole Kmet because he did it twice.
There it is.
He did it again. Okay. Show me again. Do it again. Okay. It's also been this kind of interesting change in the season. He averaged 2.5 targets the first 8 games, and now he's suddenly averaging 6.5 targets a game. All 5 of his touchdowns have come from the last 3 games, including back-to-back 2 touchdown performances. As we were saying with Cole Kmet and with Chase Claypool, it feels like he's the number 1 option for Justin Fields when Justin Fields decides to throw it instead of rushing 100 and a billion yards every game. I really like Cole Kmet, and I really like how he's been playing, and he is a playmaker. He is a difference maker in this offense. I really like what's happened with him. I'm going to add him in my waiver wire. I really like yours too, Noah, but he's one of my top options for waiver ads of week 10, week 11. We'll never figure that out, but it's Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet's my waiver ad for the week.
I love it. So high on Cole Kmet coming into the season. So happy to see him doing well finally. Definitely somebody we had high hopes for, and he is coming into those for sure. 4 touchdowns over his last 2 games. Him and Justin Fields are killing it in this Bears offense, at least for fantasy football. Even if they're not winning football games, fantasy football, they're doing a great job, and Cole Kmet should be added at 100%.
I love it. All right, let's hear your waiver wire ad for the week, Noah.
Yeah, it is. We talked about both these guys a little bit here, but my waiver ad is Rachaad White, running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, he's someone we talked about a lot over the past month. He was my deep cut a month ago. And we're seeing him take on a pretty serious role here, no doubt about it. He actually even technically started their game in Germany as he took the first snap of the game while Leonard Fournette was on the sideline there. Rachaad White was ready, plugged into the scheme for the first snap of the game there. They definitely like that guy in Tampa. Fournette's dealing with a hip pointer injury, and there's some weird conflicting conflicting reports. Initially it was saying he's going to be good after the bye, and then Bowles was like, you know what, we're gonna have to play by ear and see, that sort of thing. So, conflicting reports. Rachaad White should definitely be a top add this week in a Bucs offense that is humming going into the bye week. Rachaad White is averaging 4.8 yards per carry over the last 4 weeks, and he can be considered RB1 caliber should Leonard Fournette miss any time. Even when Fournette playing, he definitely is on the flex radar in fantasy lineups. Rachaad White, top waiver out of the week.
And it's probably an easy ad to get because he's on a bye week. I think some people may just think, oh, I'm not going to get him because he's on a bye week. Well, I think now is the perfect opportunity because you don't want to risk it. And he did really well. I mean, he averaged almost 5 yards a carry in Germany against the Seahawks, and he proved to be a workhorse. 22 carries, that is awesome. Yeah, and he's been getting decent yards here and there. I like him a lot. Noah and I were kind of like, hey, I think we know who our waiver wire ads are after the first window of Sunday. We're like, I think we like Cole Kmet and Rachaad White a lot. And I really hope that when Fournette comes back, Rachaad White is involved heavily, because I think that was a statement. That was a statement for that Bucs offense, what he was able to do and help them sustain a lead against the Seahawks. I like what Rachaad White's doing there in Tampa Bay.
100%. Definitely like what Rachaad White has going on there. Could be an easy add, especially for the bye week this week. Gonna have to wait and see here. But that's going to do it for waiver ads. Let's close it out with Thursday Night Football Preview West with some must starts, risky starts, and don't starts. This game got a little more interesting here after Green Bay took down the Cowboys in overtime. So what do we think here for Titans at Packers? Wes, who is your must start for Thursday night?
Derrick Henry. Just keep starting him. Like, don't worry about that game. Keep plugging in the king. The guy's on a roll after this one game. I mean, don't worry. I have nothing to say. It's just keep starting Derrick Henry. This isn't a week 1, week 2 kind of concern. No, he's awesome. I like what you said, Noah, about Ryan Tannehill may have had some rust that he had to knock off, maybe not a full practice as the first team rep. I was thinking about it when Tua returned, played against the Steelers. Not a great show for the offense. They still won, but Tua wasn't that hot. Tyreek Hill didn't play that great. The offense kind of had, after the first drive, Dolphins didn't do a lot. Since then, they're good. I think it's a similar situation. Tannehill is back. He's going to remain the starter. He and Henry know how to play the offense together. I think you're fine. Don't think twice. Start Derrick Henry.
I like it. Nothing to say on that. Just, don't be worried. He's going to come through. You're good. Derrick Henry owners, don't freak out. You're good.
Don't worry about it.
Keep it going.
That's all I got to say. All right. Who's your must start, Noah, now that I took Derrick Henry?
Yeah. My must start is going to be Aaron Jones for the Packers here. Listen, I am an Aaron Jones skeptic, but numbers don't lie. Okay. We can talk about how poor the Packers have looked, but Aaron Jones has had 18 plus opportunities in 3 of his last 4 games. Again, those opportunities are rushes plus targets, opportunities to score you fantasy points there. And 3 out of 3 of his last 4 games, 18 plus opportunities. And out of 3 of his last 4 games is averaging 19.6 fantasy points per game. Dope. Like, I know the Packers have looked bad, but like, Aaron Jones has been good for fantasy over the last 4 weeks, for sure. He's had a really good month. He's going to keep it going here, going up against the Titans defense on Thursday night, who are allowing at least 14.1 fantasy points to, and this is a little bit of a wordy stat here, but 14.1 fantasy points to workhorse running backs who are not in a committee. So like the Broncos running backs, no one really had a good game. Nobody was really playing all that well. But we look at Dameon Pierce, 14 fantasy points. We go back and we look at Jonathan Taylor, even against the Tennessee Titans, had like a 15.5 point game. Aaron Jones should be lined up to do pretty well against the Titans on Thursday night. Plug him in. Don't think he's going to have a fluke game or whatever. Aaron Jones is good. Plug him in.
Yeah, it's a similar thing with Derrick Henry. It's like, you have to start him regardless because he's likely your number one running back on your team. But I think you can have some confidence because what we've seen the last couple of weeks, where it's like, okay, I think he's probably back. And in some cases, it's more receiving oriented. Last week, it was very much on the ground, 20 plus carries. So yeah, I also really like Aaron Jones. So I really hope that on Thursday night, we get to watch him kind of put together a really, really solid game for fantasy owners.
Yeah, that's going to be the hope for sure. I'm excited for it though. Wes, let's get risky. Who is a risky start for you on Thursday night?
I'm worried about Christian Watson. I think he's a bit of a risk. Here's the thing. He's never had more than 4 targets all season prior to this game, okay? The most yards he's had in a single game is 34 yards. To put that into perspective, he's had only a total of 88 yards all season prior to this game. So he had more yards in his entire season on Sunday than the entire career. Even after this game, even after what he did, he's still 5th in receiving yards in the Packers roster. 7th, if you don't just count wide receivers. He's 7th behind Robert Tonyan and the aforementioned Aaron Jones. And even after this game, he's still 7th in red zone targets behind A.J. Dillon even. Look, nothing this season has indicated to me that he was due for a breakout game. Nothing showed that there was any kind of lead up to this kind of performance. He didn't sneak in and started getting some work in. And for that reason, I'm just not ready to call him Aaron Rodgers' favorite target in Green Bay. I'm saying it's a risk because I know it's hard to ignore 3 touchdowns off of 4 catches. And he was clutch for Aaron Rodgers. That makes a statement, but I'm just looking at how this entire season has gone, and I'm worried. It's a risk. It's a risk for me. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if I'm gonna start him. I'm worried.
Yeah, no, it's a risk. I mentioned it briefly about Kadarius Toney, but show it to me twice. Okay,
do it again.
I like what I saw, but show it to me twice.
Yeah,
maybe on Friday when we're recording our when we drop this episode, you'll hear me say, you know what, Watson might be real. Well, I think Watson's the real deal. He's got the connection with Rodgers. You also could hear me say, wow, we last week saw Christian Watson's best game of his career, and that also could be that. It's gonna be interesting. Definitely a risky start there for sure.
Yeah, I still can't get that dropped pass from week 1 out of my mind, and I know that's not fair to him, but just. I don't know. There's still, I just do it again. Do it again. Prove me wrong. Make me eat my words. All right, Noah, share with the class your risky start for this Thursday night.
Yeah, it's another Aaron here. It's Aaron Rodgers. Listen, he did it, guys. He did it. He went over 16 fantasy points in the game. What a good thing to see. Great to see the Packers offense doing things that we're used to seeing, which is having a solid air attack, one might even say a thriving air attack there. He had that connection. He may have found that top receiver, in Christian Watson here. But, in a week with fantasy options like Tua and, Geno Smith and Trevor Lawrence and Tom Brady, all people who could truly be, your starting quarterback for your fantasy team, Rodgers may be worth the stream if he can keep the connection with Christian Watson going. He's had a pretty boring fantasy season so far, but whenever you got a quarterback on a bye week, you may need to stream that player. So, or you may just need someone to stream. So, maybe it's Aaron Rodgers for you this week. And I think it's risky, but we saw a good performance from last week. So, and against the Cowboys nonetheless. So, could be a good week for Rodgers against Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm with you on that same. It feels like a risk because he's been bad. I was going to be polite about it, but he's just been bad this season.
Yeah.
And it is nice to see essentially a shootout when in overtime, 30 plus points for the Packers, and that is familiar to us over the last 10 years of Aaron Rodgers, but it still feels like a risk. I agree totally. Now, if you're someone who has Tua or Geno and they've been your quarterback for the season, you've been getting by, yeah, maybe Rodgers, check see who else is there though. That's the thing. I would still check to see who else is available. I wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, Rodgers is back. Do it again, A-Rod. Come on.
Yeah.
Discount double, do it again. Discount double, do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to
like that one, Noah?
I did like that one, Wes. Thank you very much for that. It's going to be interesting to see. We're going to have to watch closely on Thursday night to see, all right, is this Packers offense rolling, or is this, a one-off for Rodgers? We'll have to wait and see there. Wes, tell me who you're not starting at all, though.
I'm not starting Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Look, I like those stats too. It's a fluke, okay? Same as Christian Watson. Prior to this game, Westbrook-Ikhine also hadn't had more than 4 targets in a single game. Worse than that, he's had just as many games with 0 targets as he's had with 4 targets or more in a game. And worse than that, he's had 3 straight games without a catch until this game. And worse than that, prior to this game, he had as many games without a catch as he has with a catch. It's a fluke. Don't buy it. He just got lucky. He had a good game. Like 4 or 5 catches for 119 yards. No, it's a fluke. Don't start him. Don't start Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. No.
I think you may get Westbrook-Ikhine cut from the team. Vrabel listens to the podcast, and he's probably going, why does this guy have a job? Yeah, why did he play for me? No, yeah, fluky. Don't start him. Don't play him. Don't start him. Fluky. Don't do it. That's it. Simple as that.
Simple as that. Moving on. All right, close out our show, Noah, with your don't start for Thursday night.
Dontrell Hilliard. Don't do it. Don't start Dontrell Hilliard. Listen, back-to-back 1.8 point fantasy weeks. Not only don't start him, he just probably shouldn't be on rosters. I don't know. It's just I get handcuffing Henry, but the 20-point ceiling that we're hoping for with the PPR, we haven't seen that since week 1. And so the flex temptation could be there, but don't try and get cute. You don't go to a Def Leppard show and they don't play the hits. Play your starters, play your best players, and don't be like me, who was like, you know what? Let's play Kyron Williams in my lineup this week. That's a brilliant idea, right? No way Jeff Wilson has success this week, right? Yeah. Way to go, Noah. You cost yourself a win. Don't get cute. Dontrell Hilliard, get him out of there. We have a podcast, by the way. Yeah. Just so you know, we have a podcast. I started Kyron Williams over Jeff Wilson. Brilliant idea by me.
You explained it though. You said like you were projecting.
Yeah, I was projecting to lose by 30 because Cordell Patterson had 3 points. So it would have. It actually what it was is it doesn't actually even matter because what it would have taken was me because Kyron Williams had a better game than Cordell Patterson. It would have taken me having played Jeff Wilson over Cordell Patterson. So
sure,
it wouldn't happen anyways. But whatever. You know what? It's all good. I'm still in the thick of a playoff push right now in my division. So we'll see what happens here. But that is going to be all the time we have for this episode. Wherever you're listening, we'd appreciate if you give the episode 5 stars and write something funny in the review so we can give you a shout out next time. We're on social media everywhere at 4th and Troll and on Facebook at 4th and Troll Fantasy. Look out for our mascot, Teddy the Troll, and make him smile by giving us a follow and joining us next time, every Tuesday and Friday. I'm Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.